The Pantinium Blade. Prologue. Dark Ominations. The roaring travelled like waves in the sea, though the sound bombarded his senses more than his body. ᵈᵉ's frozen hands gripped the speeding horse's reins as he remained low, craning his head to see the night sky, thick with clouds. The rain, for now, was dissipating, allowing easier viewing as the giant beast's wings broke the maelstrom that followed with more thunderous cries. "When it descends," the young ᵈᵒ bellowed over the thundering hooves of horses, ferrying the recruits following, dragging up the field before the forest ahead of the Shield Mountains. "Fire in advance of it, not before!" The leading soldiers lowered as far as their metal and leather armour would allow, giving ᵈᵒ sight of the archers on the horses behind, their bows aimed high. "Wait, not yet, the beast," he would have said, "is too high," but the archers had already released their shots, the arrows whistling on their ascent, fast lost to the darkness above. The dragon's wings vanished beyond the clouds, and now he knew not in which direction the creature had gone as the sky was churning like oil. "Damnation!" he whispered, as he looked ahead where the fields would eventually give way to a stead of houses. Coming at him was another rider, but this was no soldier, as his grey hair had slipped free of its tie and was now wet about his aged face. "Uncle," he called. "What now? Has it escaped?" Law's horse stammered to a stop before his, ears flicking, muscles twitching. They'd been running at such a pace for a long time now. As great as ᵈᵒ's horses were, he knew they could not keep this up. Regardless, the recruits hammered by, eventually splitting up from each other as they had no target to follow. "The people have reported the dragon landed near half a day ago," Law said, his slender face and high cheekbones looking gaunt in the darkness. Neither of them were dressed for such an assault, as both had been in school when word came. Still, they weren't entirely at the mercy of the elements, as Law raised a bare hand, and from his palm came a contained ball of fire. In the warmth his uncle looked much livelier. "This is not the attack we perceived." "It is not an attack at all," ᵈᵒ cried. "It does not come low enough to do damage. It is a ᵒᵒ. It does not pertain to the arcane, and bears no armour. It must be without a rider, for it has no direction in which to— Save this nonsense for the king." The fire died as roaring sounded. All of them, horses included, turned in the direction of the beast's cries. Law wasted no time in pointing a hand at the sky, preempting its emergence, and ᵈᵒ could only gaze in awe as he'd been right on the mark. As soon as the wings broke through, a spell carrying 10 times the light of their largest moon came from him, shooting like a tail of angels before the beast, breaking the surface and connecting with such force that the energy sent the clouds away. The beast, revealed in a moment of light, was as immense as the darkness had hinted. ᵈᵒ released a cry that drew the archers and recruits towards him. "It must be slain," Law said, "by our magic, and not the spears that hunger for it, lest we are left to explain its demise to the Supreme, if that day comes." This was what the young man feared. "But if we can contain it first, wear it down, reason with it." "The Africans will not permit. A swift death can be its only mercy." Uncle, I—" "Do not argue with me," he barked, as the recruits shot by once more as the dragon's descent took it to the trees. "Return to the king. We need carts, 12 or more before noon, or so be these fools who find it. They shan't be appeased until it is all in them." At that, Law was away. ᵈᵒ didn't understand what that meant, but he also couldn't question it. The struggling dragon could keep aloft no longer, and his impact with the forest sent rumbles through the earth. Birds took flight and animals fled, but the struggle would go well into the night. ᵈᵒ wanted to remain, to assist, to talk the Africans out of their bloodthirsty need for retribution, but as if his uncle's words flew back at him, his horse tore away, whinnying as it shook its head, and allowed ᵈᵒ to take off towards the castle. "They shan't be appeased until it is all in them." ᵈᵒ could only shiver.